Alright, let's get this out of here. Welcome back to another exciting stream of the Jak 4 development. This is the official development of the official game Jak 4. Let's plug in my tablet, because I have a game plan to show you. And it's gonna be good. Okay, so we have our delightful little chunks here, our new terrain system, which currently does absolutely nothing. We check which chunks are active and inactive, and currently all this does is it appends them to a list and then removes them from the list. So, we need more. Now we're going to actually get into why this chunk system exists, which is to create... Why am I in here? I need paint. We're going to have the dynamic content, so... You know, I'm in chunk A. Did this really need a diagram? There's going to be dynamic stuff here. There's going to be like enemies here. And there's going to be the player. This is you. And then there's nothing in here. Or there's no dynamic content in here because you're far away. And there is stuff in here. So, I need to set up a very basic system. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new scene. Let's see which chunk, because I'm going to start designing the village and some little like, whatever, some sort of mission here in this chunk. So, this is chunk 055. Let's do... Wait, first thing I need to do... The meshes need to be in a separate thing. Storage, files, re-import. Okay, so now we have unnamed planes, which is very fun. Okay. Oh well. I probably should have named those. It's a bit too late now. Oh well. Oh wait, no. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna now create a new script. A dynamic, chunk content. Tool, extend spatial. Var mesh. So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have each chunk have its own separate have its content in a separate scene. So now if I close this folder in chunks, I need to rename that to chunks. We have chunk 055. And it'll have a preview mesh, which will be plane 55. And what that does Editor hint. We'll add a child. M. So let's see what that looks like now. It didn't do anything. Okay. Maybe I need to reload to figure this. I'm gonna... I wish these settings were the same for everything. Oh. Wait, what am I doing? Okay. Cleared my throat there. So it says it's previewing, and it's not previewing. So it's previewing it. Oh, I know what's happening. Because it's all the way, like, hundreds of meters away. Yeah, see, it's hundreds of meters from where we are. And we can only see, like, 3 feet ahead of us. I think. Oh. Oh. No, I'm just a buffoon. Am I? What is this? How big is this? Is this... Oh. Okay. I know what's happening. I forgot to set the... I forgot to apply the scale. And now, if I export it properly... And now all of these need their scales reset. Oh yeah, and the terrain looks slightly different because I added a modifier to triangulate the meshes automatically, because it just looks way better. So, I'll show that in action. So we can see all these like jagged edges because I just grabbed a bunch of vertices and pulled them around. And then when it's triangulated, it looks a lot nicer because these corners are like more graceful. It's especially noticeable like here. It just makes it look a lot less squared off because it does it better than the automatic system does. Also, I'm going to raise this up a little bit. This is going to be an actual like walkable path. So it should feel a bit more organic and a bit more like passable. There we go. One unfortunate part is that it seems like it's going to take a lot longer to re-import stuff since I separated all those chunks into their own mesh files, but to be expected. Okay, so Now these chunks... Okay, now it's the correct size. And I need to set this back to 2000. So first I'm going to do a really simple test. I'm just going to add some, let's add some CGS boxes and geometry and stuff like that. Alright, this will be our very good content to actually test this. So, now what we need to do is when you mark a function, or when you mark a chunk as active, it needs to add dynamic content to its children. So I'm going to add a new a new thing. Let's do const chunk content format. Actually, so it'll be in resources areas, chunks. So if this file exists, given, let's see, dot file, is that the right? Okay, it just exists. If our path content formatted by the chunk name var cn, and for now this will be done in the main thread. Eventually it'll be a separate thread so that way things can, so that way big scenes won't freeze the game. But for now we can just do load string content file if there's a scene, then we'll var node equals instance name equals okay, and then conversely here I've renamed the node to dynamic content, so that way all we have to do to see if there is dynamic content that we have to remove when we mark it inactive is if the chunk has a node called dynamic content, we just have to get that node and queue free. I think. If So for our tests, what I'm gonna do, again, and if we weren't able to load the file, it just prints the debug message. Alright, so it looks like it loaded in. That's a good sign. It looks really, really big as well. And also, to test the unloading, I'm just going to boost our speed again to 70. Alright, so, alright, and then it unloads. And also, I think now is about time I added the timing system, so that way it doesn't instantly unload. So how am I going to do this? I'll just have a dictionary. I know. No, that's not right. I know. That's not a very good thing. Let's see. For so, what it's going to do, instead of immediately adding marking active or marking inactive, is if ch.name, if it's not in chunk load waitlist, ch.name 0.0. So these waitlists are going to keep track of like the individual timers. Wait, where are they? I don't know if I need that. And then for processing, for h in chunk load waitlist, chunk load waitlist ch dot plus equals delta if waitlist ch greater than time load. What did I call it? I keep mixing up the naming conventions. Load time. active. Erase ch in chunk unload waitlist. And this is almost the same, just with unload, unload, and then mark inactive. So basically for both of these waitlists, it keeps time, or it keeps track of how long that node has been in the waitlist, and if it's been in there for long enough, then it actually marks it active or inactive. Excuse me. If ch.name in chunk unload waitlist remove erase ch.name, and we have almost exactly the same thing, though we swap things, so this will be a great place for bugs. So we need to unload and also I'm going to make the chunks immediately visible. I'm going to make the chunks immediately change. So this way I can keep track of two separate things. One, I know instantly when I'm in the like outer zone, or when it's supposed to be in the unload waitlist or loading waitlist. Did not work. I know what I'm going to do. So, because I don't want it to take 5 seconds for all this stuff to pop in. So what it's going to do is the first time it updates, it's going to do it instantly. So it passes in this instant variable. And then if it is instant, it doesn't deal with this waitlist stuff. It just immediately marks it. Okay. So that's good. And we see that stuff has been marked active and inactive, and now 5, 4. It should, in like 4 seconds, there we go. Alrighty, it seems to be going slower than I want. Hang on. That should boost frame rate. Yeah, I have a problem where if I leave the OBS preview window on my other monitor, it really slows down the game. Or it slows down everything, like even Blender's like 30 frames per second when that happens. I think it's like a driver bug with the GPU or something, because, well, whatever. Looks like it works. And that's basically just to prevent constantly unloading and loading things. It sure does take its time, though. I don't know why it's taking so long. So if it's not in the waitlist, it's added to the waitlist. And then For each item, it gets the delta, and then if it's greater than load time, I guess it's just I guess it's just because 5 seconds is longer than or feels too long for that. So 3, 2, 1. 2. Okay. So yeah, I think for now, 5 or 3 and 5 seconds or whatever I just set it to and forgot about is good enough. So now I actually need to get into like what I want these areas to be, because we have our little delightful little system. So I'll hide that. And eventually there'll be also an LOD system, so that way like it won't like be so obvious that giant buildings are popping in and stuff. But okay. So first things first, we need a village. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a screen grab. And a paint over. So, what should we have? I want a little bridge here. And I know that there's going to be some water down in here, and that's like their precious resource. So we're going to have like a big old wall. I think it goes all the way out to like this cliff face. Or maybe, let's see, if I make the cliff face part of the village, then I'll have to deal with multiple chunks and like coordinating the scene between them. So now, it's gonna be like this far out. So yeah, there's going to be a big old wall here. That's going to be hard to coordinate. And then, I don't know, I guess there might be like a cave here, and that's where you do your first like grinding stuff. There's little houses, so this will be like a big ol'... This will be like a garden area, I guess. This will be more terraced farms. Then there'll be a little hut. More little houses. And I think for these houses, they're just going to be copy-pasted little prefabs. I don't know. There'll be like a soccer ball. So that'll be for the player to kick around and have fun with. And there will be some sort of gate. And yeah, I think you'll get, if I implement guns, you'll get guns, or one gun before you get out of here. Okay, so I have a decent idea of what I want. Excuse me. Let's see, now I'm gonna have to figure out how to model more complicated stuff like, what is this? Chunk collision 055. So if I do new, and then file in append link. Yeah, this will be kind of a pain because I need to both deal with it in Godot and in Blender. It's just too complicated to model otherwise. Oh, jeez. And I need a proxy so that way I can actually move it. Because there's a super irritating thing where wait, what? What is this? Do I not need this? No, I do need this, but it's just overlaid on top of it for some reason. Ah, well, whatever. Okay. So, eventually it'll just not export this stuff, and then I'll have to import that into here. But okay. Cube, wall, see village, wall, collision. I think here would be good. See. So that's like 20 feet tall, because that's 6 meters, so that's already huge. I have an idea. This is a good trick for all you viewers at home. Cursor to selected. Selection to cursor. Then I edit this. So now we go to here. We add our modifier, array, relative offset. 1y. That's wrong. I did that wrong. I've done this wrong. It has to be x, because I don't know how to make it do other things, so. Rotate that 90 degrees. Then we go here again. We go to curve. That goes there, because it'll eventually not be included. And now, oh wait, And also this needs to be fitted to the curve. Boom. Now we have a wall that can be edited with just our curve. So let's put this in. Also, I'm going to change the modifier. No, I'm going to change the curve so that it doesn't, so that the wall is always vertical. And that should be good enough. And also I'm going to change this a bit, because I think that's a bit too tall. Now that's a good wall. This is a huge village. Because remember, this thing's like massive. This is a huge wall. Okay. You think we can have a fun little thing like that? That's good. Okay, and since I'll have the gate here. Man, this world is too big. This is too big to be useful. Okay. I'll make another one of these and I'll remove the curves because we'll have a different curve. And let's go to local. So cursor to selected, Shift S. No. You can make another curve. Village wall 2 collision. Wall curve 2. Something has gone wrong. Yes, something has gone terribly wrong. Did I? Huh? What does this mean? Okay, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna copy the content from that. Paste. Vectors, I did not, okay, so. How exactly have I done this wrong? It'll be wall curve 2 and wall curve 2. And it'll be selected to cursor. And now it works perfectly, almost. Except this needs to be over here. This needs to be over here. Okay. My brain is too small to understand what went wrong, and also I've somehow deleted the mesh. This is really cool. This is... Huh? You should see the look on my face. I don't know what I just did to make this preview. Okay, whatever. The chunk Blender is not it's powerful. It's also quite bad at at many things. It's not very good even in at least a few user experience ways. Oh yeah. Here's something that's really fun. Did you know that in Godot, or that in Blender, you can make things invisible and then make the button to make them invisible. And did you know that if you import meshes from Blender 2.8 into Blender 2.9, they are, by default, invisible in this way, in this exact way. It took me like 8 hours once to figure out why that happened. Like, look at this. Why is there a button to make it in, why is there a button to hide it in viewport and a button to disable it in viewport? What, and why are things that you import into Blender 8 disabled in the viewport by default? What? The only thing that I can think of is that it was deliberately like a test. Like they're testing the user to make sure that they fully understand what they're doing. What am I doing? But okay. That's something that will make me angry forever. I'm molding, I am seething, I am coping. Inadequately. But alright, whatever. Let's make this a nice looking wall. It'll be like bouncy or something. Let's make it like convex or concave, I mean. This way, it looks interesting. I mean, honestly, I don't know how necessary this whole, like, dynamic mesh thing, or, like, dynamic loading content is gonna be, but I think it'll be okay. Wait. Okay. Remember these settings. It includes the active collection only. It applies the modifiers. Hyper molding. All right. Let's. It's the one thing you can't disable in the viewport. It's the one thing you can't disable in the viewport. Okay. Oh yeah, and also Alt-H doesn't work, of course, for things that are disabled in the viewport. Like, it's not hidden, it's disabled. So, of course, there's no shortcuts for that. So I'm gonna have to make this an inherited scene of the chunk. And I'll add the script again. And I'll add the plane 55 again. And okay, it did not don't save. I'm mad. Okay, now I'm mad. Now I'm mad. Why is it doing this? Look, I'm gonna... Okay, my thing is not... This thing is not working. So, oh wait. This is the active one. This is not the active one. This is the active one. It remembered all my settings. That's good. And this should look correct. It does. And it doesn't have the mesh itself, it just has the preview. Now let's see what this looks like. Okay, cool. Okay, so this actually isn't as bad as I thought it would be. So I'm gonna make the wall bigger, because that's actually pretty small. I did not realize that 6 meters would look so small. Not 121. Okay. Alrighty, that looks okay. I just need to fix these things here. Oh, and I need to set the collider for the player so that when they're crouching, their collider is smaller. Let's see. I'll do that now. And I'll test it by crawling under the hole in this wall. So I need so that's the standing. And then the crawling collider. No, maybe it'll still be a capsule, but it'll be a unique one. And instead of, let's see, if I know. By default, it'll change it back to standing colliding. And only if you are rolling, crouching, or crouch rolling, or crouch jumping maybe. Roll, jump, crouch, jump, jump. Let's see how that looks. Oh, that's... Oh, right, because the run speed is still 70. I thought there was some sort of physics bug. Okay. So this is, I think, a decently big village with a really strong wall. I don't know, well, I know why the wall is so strong. It's to keep all the monsters out, and I'll have some cool gate there. Is there a place that's... I don't think there's a place that's deep enough for me to get under. I'll just assume I did it... Well, I don't have to assume I did it right. I can... go to the tree. Go to ground. Set the character to crouching. Yeah, that looks good. I should be able to get under something like this. You know what? If it's so important for me to test, let's actually just do it in our test world. Box. And let's use collision. So I should be able to crawl under a box this tall. And a box slightly shorter, but not one that's slightly shorter still. So why am I not going under? Oh. I had a two-state transition. Okay. Now I need to make it so that this doesn't happen. Ah, I know. A little area. Head area. And this will be completely encased in the standing mesh. And so the only way that this will overlap with anything, I'll actually make it a capsule mesh. And this will have the same properties as the player with mask 1, so that way, because the player isn't on layer 1, it won't collide with the player, but it will collide with other things. And then I'll set that in our crouching. So if crouch, head. Crouch head area. Crouch head dot hip overlapping bodies dot size. And so if that's not actually if we have or no, if it's not colliding with anything, so if the size is equal to 0, then we can go to ground. Otherwise, we can't go to ground. Oh wait, so I gotta change this. So that's just for roll fall. Because for fall, we just need the more normal thing, so. And this is where this sort of state machine design really comes in handy. So now if you're under something where you can't, let's see. If you're under something where you can't uncrouch, it should, yeah, it keeps you crouched until you're up above something. Let's make sure that this, yeah, and there we go. You do have to go out a little bit far because the player's crouch is really forward, but that's okay. Oh yeah, let's see. So I can slam my face into that. Oh, also I need to fix the, I'll need to change how the camera works slightly when you're crouching, because right now it's sort of janky. And it like really crowds into you. Or I can just leave that. Actually, let's see how our test. And soon I'll need to add ledge grabbing, which I think will be really good. Oh, we can roll jump really far now, actually. Like I overshoot this completely. That's good. Alright. I'm gonna... That'll take a while. Stat... Loading... Player movement tweaks. And also, it's now on GitHub, so I can git push. And you know what? I'm gonna publish the code in the chat, even though there's only one viewer, and I'm pretty sure it's me. Where is my chat? I don't have the slightest idea how to add things to chat, so I'm just gonna not. I know, I'll put it on my Twitter. Now I'm browsing Twitter and Discord and getting distracted. You know, I still need to test the dynamic loading and unloading, so before I get too much further into this stuff, first let's see. Alright, I can squeeze through. So when I get away from this, it should unload, and then yeah, eventually I'll have to make another scene in Blender that's just like a lower quality version of it. It might even be the exact same meshes, or maybe the same meshes with like a decimate function put on them. So it should be unloaded, and then right when I get around this bend, this is actually a pretty convenient place to have a load zone because, or this cliff right here is very well placed because that means that by the time you get around the bend, it should have loaded in, and by the time you get back around here, it should unload. I need to enable this again. Okay, so those are both loaded. Okay. Should be unloaded. And then it should take a few seconds. Alright. Yeah, I think that's actually a really good spot for this cliff here, because that means that the loading in is actually not going to be that visible. At least for the wall and like all the main geometry. And then, well, I mean, if it is, it's not the end of the world. People know what pop-in is. It's less obvious nowadays, but it's retro. And now... looks, I guess, correct. Though I also need to save the whole world again. Because it wasn't properly exported. Just need to completely redo this plugin. Because it apparently does not apply modifiers whenever you save. And that's super annoying. Ah, well, I'll keep the red for now. Yeah, I'm super happy that I'm glad that worked without much issue. Okay, now we need to just add more stuff to this place, like more shoebox buildings. Mesh, cube, hut 1, collision. So this is now 6 meters tall. So that means that a door could be like there. Hang on. So yeah, we can consider that a door, and let's make it look a little more ramshackle. Actually, these guys are like 1.5 meters tall, or at least the main character is, so. Let's see, I need... And then extrude faces along normals. And then wow, this just looks terrible. Shade it smooth, and we'll add a house or a mat hut. For now, they'll just be brown, a lovely shade of brown. With edge split. That's good enough. And I'll add some I'll extend this out so that way I can just make this as tall as I want it to be. And then let's just start copy pasting some houses and make us a open world. Heck, I could even make these buildings enterable. Actually, you know what? That's not gonna work. Okay. Let's do... Every house is enterable. This is Skyrim 2. This is incredible. How do I want... I'll make it so that you go up some stairs or something. And it'll bring you up to there, and then... Look at that. This is going to be... That's going to be just incredible. Just a beautiful, beautiful little abode. Every house is enterable, and they have like dirt coming through the floor. At this point, it's just easier to rotate the entire house. Look at that. There'll be a whole host of these little hamlets. Also, these have maximum roughness. Before I go any further, I'm going to see how well these hold up. Let's see. Export. And soon after this, I'm going to have to start working on the save system. Let's see what these houses look like. Wow, they're so steep that I can't even... Okay, so the walkways are so steep that I'll have to solve that. Okay. That should be good enough, I think. I will push those down a bit more. This house is just going to be tilted. And so is this house. High quality architectural design here. I may actually just make a special house model for like super lumpy terrain. It is funny though. Alright, let's see how we fare in these little houses. And yeah, and I think... And you can crouch jump up here and get little secrets. See, that's... See, this will tutorialize how to crouch jump. And I should also texture the floors pretty soon. And maybe add some windows and stuff. Yeah, look at that. It's like a whole video game. Okay. So now what do I do? What do I need? I need a bridge. So that'll be a circle. I think... Okay, yeah. That circle was so HD that I didn't even realize that it wasn't, or I thought it was like a perfect circle, not a mesh. See? What am I doing wrong? GZ. Oh, it's the local Z. Okay. Alright, so looking good. Alt E, extrude along normals. S, let's scale that back a little bit. Alt E, extrude along, that's the wrong way. Look at that. Let's give it a new material. Matte bridge. Village bridge. Make it orange. What was I doing? Oh yeah, I was going to smooth that, and I was going to add edge split. Then I was going to export. And my secret strategy to procrastinating is to frequently playtest, even more frequently than I have any reason to need to. Wow, this is way too big. That's kind of cute. Let's see if that's still too steep. Okay, a much more reasonable size. Reasonable steepness. Okay, and I can walk up it just fine. Alright. All I need is to, reduce this down a little bit. Beautiful. Now I just need, what else is going to be here? What was my objective for today? I think I basically did everything that I wanted to today. There's dynamic zone system, file names, the low res file. Node that previews the node mesh. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to test the low res version. So what I need is to duplicate this as underscore low res. And then that was the wrong thing. I should just delete that. So basically, this will be the system that's used for whatchamacallem. The LOD, the level of detail. So, oh, copies the very bottom. That's handy. Save that. And then I wish I could just set this to a default that was reasonable. Do I have anything here? I don't think I do. And what I'll add here is, for now, just to test it, a really big box. So when you're far away, you should see this really big box instead of the wall and stuff, which did not save properly. I'm going insane. This is low res chunks dictionary. Path low res. Areas, chunks, and then the name underscore low res dot tscn. If string equals path low res with c dot name. If loader dot exists low res file cn equals whatchabob. Scene load. If not seen, if we have the scene, chunks dot append. What do I do? instance of the node, and then node.name equals low res. Okay. So, now, when we mark a chunk as active, if chunk has node low res chunk.get node chunk move child. It'll just remove that child. And then if it's marked as inactive, oh wait. And that only applies if it actually has content to load. Otherwise, it assumes the low res is always loaded. So this is a handy way if I just want to make dynamic content that's always active in a chunk. Or if I don't want to have dynamic content and low res content, I can just make the low res. And then because this only loads, or it only removes it if it exists or whatever. And then, so if it has the node, if, and then it doesn't bother, actually, if not, yeah, I think, so if it doesn't have dynamic content, then that means we can do this. If name in low res chunks, low res chunks c dot name add chunk child. Okay. That was a lot of work to basically say that the low-res chunks are never unloaded, because basically I don't want to constantly have to I don't want to have to constantly go to the files. This is just under the assumption that we don't need them like in the scene, but we can just keep them in memory. I mean, honestly, the game's probably going to be like 100 megabytes at most, so we could probably have the entire scene loaded in memory, so eventually there should be a big square. Yeah, there's the big square. Then the square should go away. Yeah, it went away. And then if it goes green, pop. Okay. So you can see how eventually it'll be like, it might even be just the exact same models, but just no like NPCs, no collision checks, no anything in that area. And that way, you could just have as big a world as you want at this point. Like, all you have to do is just keep making those little dynamic cells and keep making low-res cells that look decent, and you can just make a big world. And, what else do I need to do? Let's add all this. Low-res LOD system. Git push. Wow, I'm gonna have to... That's gonna be annoying to have all of those files constantly changing. I may actually just add all of these to the git ignore. In fact, that's the wrong git ignore. Oh well, I'll do that in my free time. See, but it's been 2 hours. I got basic tech and terrain. Dynamic zone system chunks and areas are saved. File names gathered. Chunks low res, and the node that previews the node mesh. Alright, so on Thursday, I start on the save system and inventory. And then Friday, I really start into the intro area in earnest. Saturday, melee combat, and Sunday, some more movement systems, some mixing of the melee with the movement. And then Monday, I don't know what I'll do. But I guess that'll be it for today. I'm pretty satisfied with the work that's been done. So I guess I'll see you guys later.